Hi, this is just another video to follow on from a video that I've only just shared that I did today, which is titled Hung Parliament or Evidence of Rigging. Okay, so I'll leave a link to that under this, but I'm just sharing this because, you know, as the squawk box is saying, why are you silent on this? BBC, Sky, ITV. You know, yes, why are they silent on it? Because apparently Theresa May is up for a police investigation because she claimed that Miss Abbott, she outright lied on BBC Question Time Leader Special, claiming that Miss Abbott wanted to remove the DNA records of criminals and terrorists from police databases. A formal complaint has been made and the Met has confirmed that it is taking the allegations extremely seriously. Telling a deliberate lie about a candidate during an election campaign is a criminal breach of the Representation of the People Act 1983, and if Theresa May is charged and found guilty of the breach, she could have faced at least the loss of her parliamentary seat and a ban from political office. So that is a serious matter, isn't it? If on Question Time, BBC Question Time, she's told an outright lie about Diane Abbott during a campaign for a general election, that's very serious, because what she's basically stating is that Miss Abbott supports criminals and terrorists. You know, she wants to protect them. So that is a really serious thing. But again, to further confirm the concerns that I've presented in my previous video, here we go. You know, I mean, there's 6 responses and there's not one in favour of the Tory party. And yet we're being asked to believe that this is a reflection of a public, you know, the comments, and these are hot off the press, these have just come in. Okay, and the ones that I've shown were hot off the press. Doubtless, in the interim of me making this video, you know, you could get thousands of Tory trolls suddenly trying to redress the balance, but look at the date, look at the time, and look at the time this video was made, and see how many have been trolled. Okay, but this is again a reflection of the British public. And this is supposed to be a public who's that indecisive between Labour and Tory, that we've got a hung parliament. Okay? But again, this totally denies that. Marge Jones 99 says, isn't electoral fraud from the previous election still outstanding? What a mess. I signed an e-petition calling for the UN to oversee this election, but heard nothing more about it. I assume it didn't happen. Perhaps readers might have other examples of this, especially from seats like Hastings and Broxtowe that we didn't quite take. Regardless of whether it's in a leaflet or letter directly from May or just from the local candidate, if it equates something specifically against any candidate in the election, that is known to be untrue. And this person says, so internal affairs. So the DUP is lecturing the British electorate on what is and is not tolerable. What is intolerable is that a handful of DUP MPs are acting against the British national interest by propping up a discredited and humiliated Conservative leader as we fast approach the most important international negotiations this country has ever engaged in. That is completely intolerable and totally unacceptable. And it is. It's intolerable and totally unacceptable. The evidence of rigging in the last election, you know, Cameron's election, there was a lot of evidence. I mean, I could get the reports up for you, and go through them, of the amount of independent people who were standing and who received no votes. None. But they had voted for themselves. They knew for a fact that certain friends and family had voted for them, and yet their results came back, they got nil votes. Now how can that be? Unless votes for them were just put onto the Conservatives. Because that's one way of doing vote rigging, of having the counters. You've got counters in there, and all you say to those counters is, look, anybody voting for the independents, just stick those with Conservatives as a yes vote for Conservatives. As I've already explained in my previous video, the risks are in, which I've shared this link, the risks are with the postal vote, poses the biggest risk. But then you've also got the risk of, rich people owning multiple homes in different constituencies. There's no cross-checking. They could easily have a vote in each constituency. No individual constituency will be any the wiser. There are lots and lots of ways that vote rigging can happen, and when we've got lawful suspicions, it is serious. And I did write to the UN as well, and I wrote to the EU before the EU election because of what had happened with the general election. And I very strongly felt that there was, I had lawful suspicion, there was lawful evidence to give lawful suspicion that the 2015 general election was not fair and that rigging had happened. Lawful suspicion. That is serious when it's coming to a nation's democratic choice of government. That is a direct attack against our democracy. It is a terrorist threat, because if we haven't got the right to vote, we're not in a democracy then, are we? We're in a dictatorship that's abusing our voting system in order to deny us our democratic right. And that is really serious. And that's why I've made this follow-up video now, to really plead with people, like, please get on board with this. Don't accept this result. And especially now, she's planning on joining this extremist far right of Ireland. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. This is how bad it can get. And I think we do need to stand by Marge Jones here. The Marge Joneses of Britain, of which I am one. I stand with you, Marge Jones. Okay? Because this is deadly serious. And as I say, what this person, Internal Affairs, says here, absolutely, 100% stand by that. It is intolerable. It's completely intolerable and totally unacceptable to be dealing with these very important EU negotiations with a hung parliament and all these lawful suspicions about election rigging. And, as I've shown in the other, in my other video, just the day before the election, the official election pollsters, these are the professional, officially designated election pollsters, had got it so wrong they were predicting a landslide victory. And it was only after the exit polls, which many of those are completely independent, and therefore they could no longer stand by their lie. They had to drastically change that to predict a hung parliament. And how could they accurately predict a hung parliament then, if the overwhelming majority of physical voters were in support of Corbyn, which I believe they were, okay? How could they predict a hung parliament unless they already knew there was going to be a massive postal vote in favour of Theresa May? And so then obviously there's going to be a hung parliament. So I repeat again that we need to get together as a nation. We need to demand an investigation. We need a suspension of Parliament, and we need to have a look at the postal votes and do a tally. Does the postal vote reflect the physical vote? Is the physical vote a massive swing in favour of Jeremy Corbyn? Is the postal vote a massive swing in favour of May? And if there is that discrepancy there, then that is evidence. That's evidence further supporting our lawful suspicions. So this is a very, very serious matter. Nothing less than our children's future is at stake here, and the lives of millions of British people. And we really do need to get this sorted out, because we are supposed to be one of the leading democratic, civilised nations of the world. Well, maybe it's about time we started showing these people in power just how democratic and civilised we are, and stand up for our rights and dare to ask a question.